What's most likely to happen in the Middle East, given that Israel continues to pound Hamas? 70% of northern Gaza has already been razed to the ground. We're seeing the Houthis constantly attack, shipping being impacted in the way that it is. You spoke of a potential escalation with the Hezbollah. Is that highly likely in your view?
I think it is likely. It's hard for me to believe that Hezbollah will just sit polishing their rockets and missiles indefinitely. Those are not there just to be looked at. At some point they're going to be used. But remember...
What could they be waiting for?
Well, the critical thing here is Iran. The Biden administration acts like this is nothing to do with Iran. Like Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the Houthis, they just kind of do these things spontaneously of their own accord. But in reality, Iran is behind all of these proxies. And with Iran's impunity, they can continue to operate. The big mistake I think the Biden administration made was not to make Iran pay for the actions of Hamas. And until Iran is deterred, then it seems to me the trouble will continue, and that especially applies to Hezbollah. Hezbollah has way more weaponry than Hamas. It can do much more damage to Israel. It can kill many more Israelis. The Israeli Defense Forces would love to take a preemptive stab at Hezbollah, but they're being told by the Americans you can't do that. This is a very, very dangerous situation. I personally would be surprised if it doesn't kick off at some point in, say, the next couple of months.
Does the U.S. election actually help U.S. call out Iran or not? Like, could it be something that helps him in the election or not help him? What will he do?
I think it's difficult for Joe Biden or for any president to do anything bold in an election year. Joe Biden's in a quandary. If he does anything that seems to increase the risk of a major conflict in the region, then he's accused of starting another forever war. But if he does nothing, then he's accused of being weak. So it's very, very difficult to do foreign policy in an election year. And that's why I think the Biden administration has backed away from confrontation with Iran, has pretended Iran had nothing to do with any of this, when it's obvious that it does.
Sorry, I just want to go back to one thing that you said earlier on in a comment, that U.S. finds itself not wanting to get involved in forever faraway wars, but it constantly does.
Right.
So it's in this sort of box or an
Yes.
image it's made of itself. How does it break out of that? I mean, in India, we've seen a prime minister break out of the old image of India, right? Is it possible for a leader to come in and do that?
I think it's extremely difficult. If you look at Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor's recent article in Foreign Affairs, which sets out a quite sophisticated strategy for trying to contain China, he had to rewrite that article after it was published because of what happened on October the 7th. The original version said, we got the Middle East under control, nothing to worry about there. He had to completely rewrite it for the digital version, saying, okay, there was a little bit of a problem there on reflection. And that illustrates, I think, the American problem. They simultaneously have to keep an eye on Europe, they have to keep an eye on the Middle East, and they have to keep an eye on the Far East. That's a lot of commitments. That's basically a global commitment. But the mood of the electorate is, you know, after Iraq, after Afghanistan, we're kind of done. Can we not get involved? And even financial support, even sending arms to Ukraine, where not a single American soldier has been deployed, even that has caused a kind of political fatigue. So this is the central problem. The United States has these responsibilities. It has all these troops still in the Middle East. Guess what? They're targets. But the electorate would really rather not be there. And the slogan America First that Donald Trump first adopted back in 2016 has also been used by Joe Biden. And that captures this sense that you get when you're in the United States, that people would rather focus on domestic issues like the economy, getting inflation down, and they really don't want to be bothered by countries they probably couldn't find on a map.